This is a Wild Games Production podcast.
Good morning, folks. This is Vince the Evil DM, the podfather of OSR Podcasting, with another daily podcast coming back at you. Doing pretty well, slept pretty well, got my coffee sitting here this morning, waiting to start work. Decided to record a little short podcast because people have commented lately that they do enjoy the daily podcast that I do, regardless if it's focused just on a pure topic of gaming or me just rambling about gaming. So I guess some people do enjoy these things and do look forward to them. So I will continue them as long as I could figure out topics to continue with it. Now that the whole election debacle is pretty much over with and, we have to wait to see what's going on, why not distract one another by starting a new campaign? It's a perfect time, actually. Starting a new campaign can be fun and exciting. Drawing up characters and getting, rolling up characters and then drawing them up, because if you have an artist in your group, there's nothing better than getting that whole concept going with your buddy and sitting down at the table and watching him kind of draw, or her, I should say, draw up your character and then look over to you. What do you think about this? What do you think? I remember when I was a kid and we had one of the guys in our group was very good at drawing, not like professional, but the stuff that you would see in, well, I should say it was professional. I shouldn't discount it as not, so I apologize for that. But it was on the level that you would probably see in Palladium or some of the things you would see in Dragon magazine, by amateur artists. He wasn't a professional artist, obviously, but he knew how to draw. I could draw stick figures, and that's about all I can draw. But he would sit there and he would draw all these characters before me, and it was fun to watch him do it. He would draw up the body and maybe sometimes he would have a gun. I remember we were playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the time, and of course this was during the 80s, and I would go over his house and we'd play in his basement. In Long Island, we had basements, obviously. Most people don't have basements, which is kind of funny, and they laugh, what's a basement? But we'd play down there, and he would draw up my I think I had at the time some type of like rodent character. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was a porcupine. I think it was a porcupine. And he would draw up the character and have all these machine guns and like bandoliers around him. And always when it came to faces, it was always a laugh because he never was able to draw a proper face, which I think most artists struggle with. I don't know. I'm not an artist and I can't draw, so I can't relate. But he would always put them with having like a mask over their face or a helmet or something. And we used to always laugh and say, what's happened to his face? Why is he always wearing a mask or a helmet? Well, I can't draw faces. So it was always one of those things. But yeah, we had fun doing that. And we'd have fun writing up the backstories of characters as far as just figuring out where they're from and what their motivation is, honestly, how they got there and who their relatives are. It wasn't like pages upon pages, but it was just kind of bullet points on the back of characters, just to have fun. And it is fun starting a whole brand new world as a DM, because you get to sit down and decide what is in the game and how they affect one another. And that's kind of what we need to do in life, is distract one another with some good quality games in this D&D hobby. Sit down around the table and tell stories and just enjoy the game in general, not worry about, what's going on outside our house at the moment. For those couple hours you were involved in your Dungeons and Dragons or superhero world or whatever genre game you're playing at the table. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just chuck the dice, tell stories, have fun, laugh, get along with one another. That's what the hobby is all about. Role-playing hobby is about having fun, imagining everything outside of life, and pretending that life doesn't exist for that time period. The problem is that a lot of people in the gaming community, not the hobby, because the community is what the mainstream calls it, I don't consider it that, but to each their own. They like to bring the stuff that we like to escape from into the game and kind of ruin the whole escapism from life from the game. Not quite sure why someone would want to do that, because it ruins things and makes the game a little too lifelike to me. Role-playing games to me is basically just a hobby that I play to escape, fantasize about, and we all did that as kids. I mean, we all sat there thinking about a cool sword that we had, or how we're going to defeat the dragon, or how we're going to kill the orcs that have taken over this town. We didn't sit there thinking about, I wonder what that orc's feeling right now, or maybe I shouldn't kill that orc because he's really a good person and misunderstood. No, because that's not how these games work. Monsters in the game are just fodder for the characters to gain experience and find treasure and glory from. Nothing else, nothing more. It just saddens me to think that people take it a step too far, ruining the escapism in the game, and I think we need to get back to that and stop fighting with one another about what these things are. Luckily, most of the OSR and the old school community is on the same page with me of this, as opposed to the mainstream, which is not. But again, we have to say to each their own, and however you want to play your game, you play it, because I've always preached it's your world, your story, your rules. You play how you want. And if you want to play a story where the orcs have feelings and have a backstory and they're misunderstood, then by all means, then you do that. Me, I'll stick to what Mr. Gygax, the father of D&D, has put in the books and has described and taught us all these years when playing. Sure, Gary flip-flopped a lot of things in his life, but who cares? He, for the most part, preached a game where there are heroes and death lurks around every corner, and it's hard to escape that death. You have to think, you have to plan, and you have to be careful, because you could die at any point during the game. And honestly, death in a game is just natural, and it happens. You actually can learn from it, and sometimes deaths in the game are actually quite, I keep saying actually, it's like an idiot, are a lot of fun, because you get these weird situations where the character dies and you all laugh about it. Unless you're a real insensitive baby, then you cry about it. But generally, when you do die in role-playing games, it's because of something you did as a player. Not all players, it's their fault. I mean, I've seen plenty of players just the luck of the die, and that's what happens. Sure, as a DM, if I don't want someone to die because of a roll, I'll change the roll, because that's what we have a screen for, and that's what we do. But if I tell you as a DM that, yes, you found a cave and you walk inside the cave, it's kind of dark and you do see some light ahead. When you walk ahead, you see steps going down. Next to the steps is a rickety old elevator that looks like it is made of rotting wood and probably won't hold much weight. As you can see, the wood is slowly starting to rot away. Now, as if you as a player decide I'm going to go on this elevator with full plate armor on, you're going to plunge down. So this is a real life situation that I sat through as a DM, and to the player who was like, oh, I take the elevator, I said, well, you sure you want to do that? Because you look at it as you're about to step on it, and you realize that this wood probably will not hold you. There's a slight chance it may, but don't forget you are wearing full plate armor, and you have a backpack full of gold and items and everything, so you probably, no, not probably, almost guaranteed you will fall through and plummet to your death. And the player said, I want to try the elevator. And I said to him one final time, I was like, are you positive that you want to do this? As you step on your foot, as you step your first foot on it, you hear it really start to creak and it feels spongy. He's like, no, I think it'll work. So he got on the elevator and his character plummeted. I gave it a very small percentage chance just to see, maybe, whatever. And I rolled right in front of him to make it fair, so he wouldn't say I cheated, even though I don't really care. And he plummeted to his death. And he got pissy about it after, a bunch of warnings. So, anyway, that was an interesting situation. He got over with. The party luckily had a rod of resurrection, so he was able to come back to life because, mistakes happen and you come back to life. We laughed about it afterwards. Well, the rest of the group did. He didn't. But it was a fun situation, and we all had fun playing the game. So that's basically what this topic was today. It's a great time to start a campaign, build some memories, some stories, some fun times with your friends, and enjoy role-playing as a whole. That's what we really need to do right now. Escape from life. Escapism, right? So it's your world and your rules and your story. Play how you want. With that said, keep it original, keep it old school, and Podfather out.